I said, I need you to do me a favor. She said, what? I said, I need you to pick this car. I need you to put this car and keep it in drive and keep this door open. Real talk. The ride was at Pennsylvania Division Street. Mm-hmm. And I said, if I come running out of this house, just pull off. And I walked up those steps. When I walked up the steps, he was there, top floor. I looked and there was 2 guns on the bed.
Welcome to the Phoenix Perspective. Today, I have a dear friend of mine who I've been trying to get to come and do this for the longest time. Normally, I do an introduction as to who he is and what he is. But as I said to him earlier, he's so many things to so many people. To me, he's a friend. And that's more important than anything else. So I'm going to let my friend, Derrick Chase, tell you who he is and what he does before we jump into this conversation.
Yeah. Hey, first and foremost, man, always a pleasure to be in your company. Yes, you're looking good, fresh as usual. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get you a red Baltimore hat. I know you're holding on in New York, Jersey vibes. Okay. But nah, man, I'm Cheryl Lou's Creon Brown baby boy. Born in the Avenue, raised in Park Heights. Been all over the world, but never been out of Baltimore longer than 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Manufacturer freedom.
Say that again?
So my job title is I'm a manufacturer. My product is freedom.
Okay.
So my relationships, are my investments. Everything manifests from that. So what we do is we just invest in people, and that builds various types of monuments, from real estate to restaurants to iconic brands, and the other things that we're involved in. But the real true investment is in people.
Okay. So tell me, this isn't one of the questions, but this is us talking because I've known you for several years. I seem like I've known you a lifetime.
Look, feel a whole lot longer than several years, bro.
But my question is, at what point in your life did the inspiration become to be a messenger of freedom? Wow. To be the man you are? Like, was there something that happened, a situation? What occurred that made you realize, I want to be more than just a husband, a father. I want to be more to others. Tell me about that, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, my journey starts probably as I was 6, 7 years old. And, the short version is I had colic. And so I was born with colic. And then
colic, for those who don't know, what does that mean for those who don't know?
Colic is pretty much a severe digestion issue.
Gotcha.
Right? And so I love cereal and milk. Matter of fact, I love Captain Crunch as a kid. And I grew up with my mom, my father, who is my father, but not my biological father.
Gotcha.
And my mother was the oldest of 7 children, but she had me at 16. So I grew up in a household with my grandparents also. So I had my mother's house and my grandparents' house, but I spent almost equal time and then went back and forth pretty fluently. And my grandfather was a hardworking man, and we wouldn't see much of him because he worked 2 jobs. So every morning I would leave him a note. I said, Granddad, I called him grandfather, actually. Mm-hmm. I said, can you leave me some money for cereal and milk? It was my thing. And every Saturday, my grandfather would leave me money for cereal and milk. And I would go to Food City, that's in Park Heights for those who don't know, and I would get the biggest box of Captain Crunch, half-gallon of milk. And like most kids,
it's a big bowl.
The big bowl. I would try to eat as much of it as I can, not understanding the effect that the milk had on my body.
Your body, right.
I didn't know anything about milk being not digestible amongst most people, so I didn't know what it was. But what I did know is that it would humble me and it would send me to the bathroom, and to the point where I would cry in the bathroom. So I would go to the bathroom and I had the lights off, and I would cry and pray because the pain was so severe. And I did this every week. not realizing why it was happening. I just knew that praying was tied to the bathroom because I was in pain. And if you do anything for a long period of time in the dark and you cry out to God, God start talking to you. So I kind of found out who I was in those moments without knowing. And God began to talk loud to me. And one of those times, I guess I was probably about maybe 8.5, I made a covenant with God. And I said, God, if you stop this pain, I will do whatever you ask. And at that moment, for whatever the reason, the pain began to subside. But the process of being in the bathroom and turning out the lights and praying, I still do that. Right?
To this day.
To this day. But that relationship is what began to open my eyes up at a time, I'm in Park Heights during the crack 80s. So I began to get a very clear vision between what was happening with my friends and what happened with me. So I ultimately began to become a change agent amongst my friends.
Okay.
So they wanted to go left. I was always trying to get them to do right. And what also aided to that is that my first four schools, but in particular the first three, one was Duke Ellington, which was an art school. The second was Malcolm X, all right, which was a school that promoted some level of consciousness. And then my third school was Dr. King.
Okay.
So in that process, those were, there were a lot of conscious people around me. I didn't realize that then. But I started learning those old Negro spirituals. He got the whole world. You know what I mean? I began to learn, Mother to Son, all right, by Langston Hughes, and other poets and other artists. So as a child, I was submerged in that, not realizing what it was going to do to me. And then once I left Malcolm X, I went to Dr. King, and we had to learn all the speeches. So by the time, I got to 7th grade, I pretty much memorized a ton of Dr. King speeches and all these other poems. And, words have power. And when you are praying and you're reading and you're thinking, and then you're in environments of survival, and God keeps showing you a way, all right, you begin to tap into a power.
Gotcha.
So by the time I was 9 years old, I was I'm the same person I am now.
So let me ask this question, because you and I have spoken about this before.
Yeah.
We've talked about people who don't know you, but see how you move, tend to think, the street dude.
Right.
The street dude.
Yeah.
And you have the respect of the street dudes.
Yes, sir.
But you weren't the hustler in the streets as far as the game. You grew up around it, you saw it, you witnessed it every day, you saw the death, you saw everything.
Right.
But you never got pulled into where the peer pressure to actually do the street things that people were doing.
Right.
How did you avoid that struggle? Because you grew up in Park Heights.
Park Heights,
And Park Heights had a reputation back in the day.
100%.
And, we all know that just because our neighborhood has this reputation, not everyone in that neighborhood is a part of that culture.
No question.
But it is a part of your culture.
Yeah.
But how did you not allow yourself or your family or those loved ones prevent you from getting caught up and going to the left as opposed to going to the right?
Yeah. I have a poem called When a Nigga Died. And in that poem, it says, I never lived in the ghetto because my room was always clean. And that kind of defines my life. So, of course, biological father, I met when I was 27. But the father that raised me was locked up, came out of prison to my grandmother's house. So at 13 months, I was raised by a man who had spent most of his life in prison, half his life at that time. From the time he was 12 years old until he was 24, he had spent it in prison. So I was raised with a man who he was a disciplined man in terms of reading habits. He was a man who always promoted education. Like I was getting $5 for A's and $2 for bees when $5 was a lot of money, right? So he promoted that. Not only that, I tell a story that when I would do something wrong, he would give me a choice of consequences, like only 2 consequences. I could take 5 on a jar, or I had to do 50 push-ups. So when you 5 years old or 6 years old, 50 push-ups is a lot of push-ups. You've been doing that all day, right?
Absolutely.
But 5 in the jar is pain. What I didn't realize is that what he was building me for.
Okay.
Right? So I had doing push-ups, and I had developed a tough jaw, and every day of my life until he passed me slapbox. So I was good. I was nice. You know what I'm saying? Not even knowing that that's what he was doing. I never even asked him if that's what he was doing. Maybe he didn't know what he was doing. But I would argue something different. So, I'm coming out of a household with a father who was from that mob, all right? Who set a law and a rule and a regulation that's not the mob you from, all right? But you from that mob. And one time, I guess I was probably in my 20s, and I said, because all my cousins went to prison. Seven boys, 6 of them went to prison. Only one that didn't go to prison was me. And I said to him, I always feel like I get left out the conversation when y'all talk to prison talk. And he said something that really made all the sense in the world to me. He said, well, you ain't really missed anything but survival. And I've given you all the tools to do that. So I came out, when I touched the street, all right, whenever I came out of the street, I had 2 voices in my head, or 3 technically, 4. I had the voice of God, because I had discovered purpose, all right? I had the voice of my father, who had made me strong, taught me what to take and what not to take. And then I had the voice of my grandfather, all right? My grandfather was a person who worked hard. He was a janitor boy where he wore a suit and tie every day. He was a dignified man. When he woke up in the morning, he cleaned the street from top to bottom. He had a great relationship with the community, all right? He never raised his voice at me. And his example of a man was the guidance. So I never saw myself as them.
Gotcha.
And I also saw the future because I was a smart kid. And in the neighborhood, I say out of 25 boys on a block, and I'm a Shirley boy. And people from Park Heights understand what that is. I'm from Park Heights and Shirley. So if you look at the 2 neighborhoods that kind of govern what the identity of Park Heights is. You got Park Heights and Woodland, you got Park Heights and Shirley. I'm from Park Heights and Shirley. And unfortunately, those blocks have defined how much violence that they're willing to bring forth. So I grew up in an environment where violence was nothing.
Yes.
We used to play a game called Letter B. You say a B word, and I hear it, I get a chance to hit you until you remember what word. And my father taught me where to place punches. So I always could drop everybody because I hit them in the solar plexus. They didn't know that, but I knew it. So a lot of people wouldn't test me because they had an idea already. So you had that element going on. And, just to kind of land the plane is that I was built to survive that environment.
Okay.
And I was in the environment and heard the voice of God, and I was inspired to change the environment. So I didn't feel the pressure because they couldn't put physical pressure on me. All right? I was never a guy who tried to jump out there and fight everybody, although I fought everybody. But that's how we did back then.
How we did.
And I won all of them. All right? I go on a record.
You heard that.
Check the record.
He said he won all of them. So
I won.
anybody who put an L on D Chase, I need you to reach out and let us know you gave him that L.
You're not gonna find it. But I wasn't known for that. I was really in school, which is the other part, is I was the man in school.
Okay.
So in school, there was nobody big. I was an artist. I was a kind person. I was very helpful. I was very humble. And in school, I was the apple of the teacher's eye, and they always would have me to do. They knew they were investing in me to make sure that I got to where I would get to.
Gotcha.
In particular, Miss Collins and Miss Gooden, they still living. I went to see them as a 40-year-old man.
Oh, really?
Thank him, yeah. Yep.
My next question is because I know you as an entrepreneur. I know you have more hats than I can even discuss.
Right.
So we're gonna go through a few of them. But I found this interesting is that before Uber Eats, while you were at Morgan,
Yeah.
you had an entrepreneur business of what? Explain to the people what that was 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, actually it was more than that. It's like 33 years ago, you know what I mean? So short version is I'm coming out of Park Heights and I come to Morgan and, I get engaged and there was a big protest in Morgan. And they were talking about consciousness and black people, school days, fight the power, all that stuff was there. And again, I come out of Malcolm X and Dr. King, all right, with a hustler spirit. And so I land in Morgan and there's a white guy and, he's selling hot dogs. And I'm seeing him getting all the money and I'm like, hey, does he have a right to sell his hot dogs? And so I decided that I was going to take his business.
Okay.
So I went and bought a hot dog cart, put my hot dog cart.
That street, non-street, and you
Yeah.
decided I'm gonna take that business. Got you.
So I put my joint where his joint was. We went back and forth until somebody intervened and told me that she would watch what was going on, and he had been there. He had a right to be, which he did, and he's an entrepreneurial spirit. And if I wanted to do something, the right way was just to build a better mousetrap.
Okay.
Right? So I did that. I went and got this before everybody was using those white tents. I got 30 feet of white tents. I got 30 feet of green grass. I hired the best of Zeke DeVoe, Scott Johnson, a lot of people that people see who are my friends, really are my mentees.
Okay.
Right? I hired the best looking guys at Morgan, as well as we had a community organization called the Gentlemen Equality that we worked on developing them as men. And they became the front. So we were getting a lot of money right there. We ran them out of business. Short version, we ran them out of business and we controlled the strip. And we began to duplicate it. And then I realized where the real money was. The real money wasn't the people who was coming out. The real money was the people who couldn't come out. So what I started doing is we cut fresh fruit salads. All right? So I had a house where they cut fruit salads. Terrence Fraser, City of Gods, used to be a part of the fruit cutting. So we had him at the house cutting fresh fruit. So we would cut about $500 of fresh fruit up every day. And then we had a team of about 12 guys who moved in and out of every building at Morgan, selling fresh fruit salad, muffins, juice. They call me the muffin man. Muffins, juice, yogurt, and the fresh fruit salad. And we were doing like $2,000 a day. So, but here's the funny part about that. The response to the administration of Morgan was not to support that at that time. What they began to do is they began to create rules, laws, and regulations to run me out of business, make it difficult for me. And so as that began to, we had to come out of campus and never drove that any further. We kept the hot dog carts and the food trucks and that stuff. We kept that coming. But yeah, that was 33 years before Starbucks had Uber Eats.
Now, I want to say this because I'm listening and knowing Baltimore and knowing what the world says about Baltimore.
Yeah.
The Wire. Everybody says the Wire, the corner, everything negative.
Yeah.
And listening to your story sounded like the Wire.
Right.
Sounded like the corner, but in a positive aspect.
Yeah.
Like people don't equate that. There's a lot of good things that people do.
Oh, yes, sir.
The model may sound the same,
Yeah.
but the reality is it's not the same.
No.
It's about having a hustle, having a desire to be better, having a desire to be the best version of you,
Yep.
and understanding that sometimes you have to step on people to get where you want to get, but you're doing it for the betterment of your people. From listening to you, it sounds like
Right.
I'm taking something that my people can use, which is my food service.
That's right.
I understand their diets. I understand how they eat.
Yep.
I understand what we need.
Right.
And I'm going to use that to better myself and my community.
And what I shouted out, you said something that was important because not only did we change the product, he was selling pork hot dogs. We went from a hot dog, which is a cheaper version of processed meat, to a turkey sausage. We call them Big Willies. That's when we used to rock the Big Willies. Big Willies come out, then we bought the grill, cut up fresh onions. So it was a turkey sausage. We didn't use the regular white bread. We used the potato bread because I was conscious, you know what I mean? So we didn't sell soda. We sell all fresh juices, all right? We sell coffee before it was coffee, like the Starbucks coffee before the version that came out. We cut the fresh fruit. We sold salads. And then on top of that, we sold books, all right? So everyone's place, who was Brother Nati supplied me with information. So we used the strip, all right, for two things, to give people fresh food, but also to change their mentality, which ties into a greater vision, all right? Because again, I had discovered God early. And what I recognized is that those people that I was coming in contact had the power to change the world. So God gave me a vision. And that vision was to utilize the relationships that I had developed, in particular at Morgan, to create a powerhouse for Black survival. And that's where I am now.
Okay. Now, this is a part that most people who see you but don't know you don't know.
Yeah.
You think you can sing. And I mean, you think you can sing. Now, you got a 50 Cent story because your voice did change. It used to be one way, now it's another way.
Yeah.
You weren't shot, but you got a different story on how your voice changed.
That's funny.
But you delved into the music industry years ago.
Yeah.
You were a part of a few artists' careers in the beginning.
I was.
Tell the folks out there about that experience, who you mentored, who you mentored, that whole piece about what that life and how it gave you a chance to see the world in a whole different, arena.
Right. So again, I was a student of the movement, right? So I had studied the movement of our people, from what had happened in the AME Church with Richard Allen, to what had happened politically in Black Reconstruction, to what happened in the turn of the century with Noble Drew Ali and how the introduction of Islam had begun to create change with bringing the idea of the Moorish Science Temple, what had happened between Booker T. Washington and W.B. Boyce with the Talented 10th, all right, and the service model of education of how learning how to function and create basics, maintaining the basic service model for America would keep Black folks necessary to the Nation of Islam that taught Black empowerment and do for self, from the Civil Rights Movement, which taught how policies could reshape and change the reality of what it meant to be Black in America, to the Black Power struggle, all right, with all of the various entities, in particular the Black Panther Party and other organizations. I studied the Urban League and the impact of the importance of Blacks in corporations and moving up the corporate ladder. I studied the next segment, which was the Black arts movements, from the Harlem Renaissance to what had happened in the 60s. And I understood all of that, to my generation, which was hip hop, and how hip hop was becoming a transformational force. And I saw that the leaders were shifting from a civil rights model, all right, to an entertainment model. So I said, okay, I am going to be ahead of the time. So I began to create alternative entertainment. So we built the spoken word movement strategically as an alternate to the entertainment that our people was being fed, because hip hop had changed to gangster rap, right? So that was the first part of that. So a part of that vision was to create a cultural revolution and unite Baltimore and DC, all right, culturally. So for the last 25 years in Washington, D.C., I've done the Black Arts movement with Pat Come Freeman. All right. In Baltimore, I did the Nappy Happy Day. And I built this bridge between Baltimore and D.C. culturally. Okay. All right. On the cultural as well as entertainment. In the midst of that, in particular through spoken word, but as spoken word began to evolve, a whole movement came out of called Neo-Soul. All right. So we had put together a platform, a collegiate platform. I created a company called United Unions, and we would provide entertainment for colleges and universities. But the truth of the matter is I was utilizing it as a revolutionary tool to change the consciousness of the community by using art, culture, and music. Okay. Out of that, when I was building in Washington, D.C. at a place called Bar None, shout out to Matt, all those guys.
Bar None, I heard that in a minute.
Yeah. So Matt, Weusi, all the brothers down there, a guy who saw what I was doing asked a guy by the name of Big T, a Jamaican guitar artist, how could he get in contact with me? Big T made the contact. I met with him. I met with him downtown in Baltimore. That guy was a guy by the name of, at that point, he called himself Devon.
Who?
He called himself Devon.
Devon.
And I was like, yo, like, I saw you, but what you singing? He was like, I'm the one who sing Damn, Damn, Damn. I'm like, yo, you sing Damn, Damn, Damn. And then he asked me to help him. And so we began to kind of help fashion him as a entertainer, all right? Because I could hear what he was doing. Like what he was doing at Bar None was crazy, all right? But I knew that there were some other elements that would help him. So I put him on a tour that was called Slamonomics. So Slamonomics, we were all over the country. So we were all in this area. So Raheem Devon, who I'm talking about, the reason his base is so strong is we actually built his base in the living rooms in colleges.
Okay.
So we would have living room parties where we would ask 10 to 20, 25 people to come over in the living room, and Raheem could turn any room. So we did that over 300 times.
So you started out performing just in college dorms or college rooms or small facilities?
Yeah, small facilities. But the other part of that is that they also was meeting me. So nobody had any idea what was on my mind. But I had every idea I was very intentional. So what happened out of that was the emergence of Raheem Devon. We created a group that was called Urban Ave 31. Urban Ave 31 released a CD that was called The Healing. And in the midst of that, God told me that he was going to send the world through me, through Raheem. And he told me that Raheem was the Marvin Gaye of this time.
Okay.
And he asked me to stop doing poetry personally and help him. And true to form, my phone started ringing from all over the world. So we wound up doing a deal with Jazzy Jeff on an album called The Magnificent.
Okay.
Yep. So that album, we released a song called My Peoples. And that My Peoples song blew up in Europe. So we flew over to Europe, was on Giles Peterson's show. Giles Peterson was the biggest platform that the biggest platform in music at that time that you could be on was the Giles Peterson show. And then it was called Voices of America radio show, which was controlled by the American government. That was in 120 countries. So then we had an interview with them. So Raheem's base in development was international. And in the midst of this, Raheem was a studio rat.
Okay.
And he was writing for jazz, for Drew Hill, in Night Flight Studio. And when they went to shop Jazz's music, they heard Raheem. And they was like, who's this? And Raheem wound up getting a job deal. And the rest of it's history.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, Raheem was my brother, my friend, you know what I mean, my mentee.
And I've been around you, and I've seen Raheem, and I see the love, I see, that the respect.
Oh, yeah.
The respect is there. So we've been talking for a minute, and I'm hearing, like, people who are hearing your story are like, this guy's had it from the beginning. Mm-hmm. What they don't know is that it wasn't as easy.
Right.
It hasn't always been easy. So let's talk about the setback,
right.
That thing that unexpectedly, because I know how you think,
yeah.
And everything is always positive. Everything's always going to be better. Mm-hmm. Everything is better.
Yeah.
You don't allow negativity to creep into your life, and I love that.
Yep.
But the Phoenix perspective delves on our rise, but it also deals with, because I don't want to keep people in that negative space, but I want people to feel like I'm always going to get out of that negative space, to have that faith.
Right.
Your decline in status or in the moment happened. How that happened? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I'll talk about two declines. I said, first and foremost, I was, all of the kids in the neighborhood were fresh. Like, a little bit about the city. They were fresh. Like, so crack hit, everything changed, hip hop changed everything, and everybody was really fresh. So Georgetown Jackets came out. Mm-hmm. All right. I didn't get a Georgetown jacket, a Georgetown hat. After that, Britishers came out, Shirlers came out. I didn't get that. All right. that was, in that time, that was status, right? All the girls like the guys who looked like the drug, that's what was it. So there was a automatically push over back to the line, neighborhood-wise, right? School was cool, all right? Neighborhood-wise, on the out of 25 guys, if the top being one, I was probably 15, right? So, you know, that in itself, dealing with that incredible journey of being number 15 out of one, but knowing that you're number one, knowing without a shadow of a doubt, like, so that and fighting that. So, you know, anybody who has to deal with the neighborhood, you know, you have to take some fights that you may not want to take, all right? Then you have to not take some fights. So one of the hardest things is not to destroy somebody that you can destroy because you are looking towards a brighter future. That was difficult, right? And that was healing that has to happen later in my life on that. All right, that's why, like, even with the sports and stuff like that, I didn't get into that. I didn't play sport, I didn't do none of that, right? So it was like all of that. And then the next real moment was, you know, sometimes you bet on yourself, right? I was used to betting on myself. So I bet all the money that I had on me. I did the Million Man March. It was organized for the Million Man March. I did all the organizing, but I didn't make no money. But I watched people make a lot of money. So by the time the Million Woman March came around, I was like, I'm gonna make me some money. So
I gotta market myself. I gotta figure this out right.
Gotta figure it out. So I got all my friends, like 15 guys, paid all of them. I went and got a 30-foot, 29-foot U-Haul. I had 2 vans at the time myself. I had a big blue van, big white van, packed it up, all kinds of stuff in there. And everything that could go wrong without getting into the details of the story went wrong. I'd also borrowed $8,000 from a cat who you don't borrow money from and not pay it back. So there I was, all right? Lost all of that bread up there, and I had to package all that stuff. And I came back, I had to do 2 things. I had to get that cat his money back, all right? As well as I didn't have any money. And then I had, you know, in essence, 50 feet worth of food and stuff that I need to haul. So there I was on Pennsylvania North Avenue selling sausage, bread, and cabbage. You know what I mean? Like literally for like 3 weeks, I said selling, and I owed this cat money, and I didn't have the money, but I knew I needed to see him. And right there, Gold in Pennsylvania, I had to meet him, and I didn't know how that was going to turn out. So I told a girl, she know her name. I said, I need you to do me a favor. She said, what? I said, I need you to pick this car. I need you to put this car and keep it in drive and keep this door open. Real talk. The ride was at Pennsylvania Division Street. And I said, if I come running out of this house, just pull off. And I walked up those steps. When I walked up the steps, he was there, top floor. I looked and there was 2 guns on the bed. Right? It wasn't for me. You know what I mean? But it was for anybody.
Anybody, right.
And I looked at the guns, and I looked at the window, and I looked at the guns, and I looked at the window, and I positioned myself between the guns and the window. And then I went to tell him the story of how I lost the money. All right? But I wanted him to know that I was here, because I was going to pay it back. I had some. I didn't have it all, but I was going to pay it back. And he looked at me, and he shook my hand. He said, you good. But that moment, I was preparing to throw him out that window. All right? Because I still had all the stuff in my head that I had to do. All right, I was still under the divine covenant. But now I go back. My father had just died. The person who raised me died when I was 24. And my mother had asked me to move back home. So there I was in the basement. And the basement, we call it the basement of insanity. Shout out to Scotty J. And I became trapped by the idea that the only thing that I could do was be an entrepreneur. Totally forgetting that I had a degree in education. But it didn't dawn on me until Scott said, yo, what are you doing? Like, you got a degree in education, you never used it. So at that moment, I went down there, he hired me. Immediately, they gave me the salary of a 5-year teacher. And then I was back on. You know, I stayed there for a year and a half. And then a year and a half, I was back looking out that window.
Okay.
And that was back in the street.
So that was it.
But yeah, that was it, man. That was it, bro. But it's, it's been it's still a journey. Like, it's a journey right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we keep moving, man. But I appreciate you, bro.
All right, well, I appreciate you. We ain't done. I still got a couple more before we end this. We got a couple more because I think we didn't even touch on, like for me, I have friends. I have people who I consider friends. And most people who have friends, it's a mutual, what can you do to enhance my life? What can I do to enhance your life?
Yeah.
And I like to say the people who I'm closest to are friends who are enhancing other people's lives.
Yeah.
Like, your dedication is to community.
Right.
Your family, for God first, your family and community.
Yeah.
But community is a big part of what you do and who you are.
Right.
I always hear you preach, I always watch you. I pay attention to what's going on. And two of the bigger events that have happened in Baltimore over the last 25 years, you've been a part of.
Yeah.
One, Jazzy Summer Nights. Mm-hmm. You and LaRon Finney started this, and I know you guys built a relationship, and you came on board, and you guys have built it into a major summer event. Yeah. And then you have the Met Gala, which is 5 years old this year?
This will be the 4th year.
4th year that I saw it from inception here to Maryland Live, big room, big stars, big everybody. Tell me about that venture and how that scoped your life and what you have going moving forward in the future. You also have a restaurant that you've just opened. So take us from Jazzy to the Met Gala to where you're going politically, socially, economically, because these times we're in right now are difficult times, and we all have to be more in tune with each other about what we're trying to do for community, not self. So tell me about those things.
So my philosophy is it's not the discovery of your gift that matters. It's the discovery of who the gift will serve. Right? So if you're giving a lot, I'm giving a whole lot, bro. You know what I'm saying? A whole lot. I know I am. Right? So I don't lack confidence at all. Like some people go, I don't even can't spell it. You know what I'm saying? But I do know my limits. Right? And having limits or having limitations about what you actually can do yourself versus what can be done, 2 different worlds. Right? So my greatest asset is not me. My greatest asset is the relationships that I built. Right? My greatest asset. It ain't me. I mean, I got bad people around me. You know what I'm saying? And the beauty of it is that, I spent years studying the science of nothing, right? And it means to be absent of desire. What does it mean when one heart is absent of desire, right? Meaning you want nothing, meaning that air is enough. A little water to sustain you is more than enough. Food so that you won't perish is even better. And having no desire. So when you approach that and become a student of that, I study heavy philosophy, right? So there was a person by the name of J. Krishnamurti, all right, who when he was young, his name was Echelon. And he wrote a book, a small book in the 1800s. It's called At the Feet of Master, all right? I was given that book by a kid who was 19 years old when I was 22. That book became a big guide. In that book, it begins to springboard me into what it meant to be present. So to desire nothing and to be present. All right? So if you desire nothing and you're present, you get a chance to get a good read on everybody. Because you don't want nothing but what shows up, right?
Absolutely.
So once you understand that, the other question that one must ask is not what brought us together, but why we came together. So I always open myself up to understanding the why of relationships. Not the what, circumstance, what it is, but why. Understanding the why of our intersection guides me. My life is a life of how do you take this group of Black people who have been disrespected, disregarded, pretty much thrown away, and how do they emerge as a powerhouse to shape the world? So my premise is all of that. Now, my mentor said that Baltimore would have to change if the global reality of Black people to change. I actually believed it. So I decided to stay here and build from that reality. All right. So all of the brands that you see me building are bigger, are really tied to a bigger reality. All right. Jazzy Summer Nights, that was Finney's baby. All right. Finney will tell you about his own story.
And we'll be talking to LeBron later on today.
Yeah. So Jazz is his baby. But I know, and we all should know, that again, just like people come into your life and can accelerate your life, you can walk into another person's life and accelerate their life. So what I saw in Jazzy Summer Nights helped to accelerate Jazzy Summer Nights to another level. So it was a compliment to a genius. Most people find it very difficult to compliment a genius. What? That is the ultimate honor. You know what I'm saying? If you stand next to a powerful man in servitude, and you are a powerful man, all right, what does that say about you? Right? Your ability to serve is greater than your ability to be served. All right? So that is what Jazzy Summer Nights was. Now, in LeBron, again, I've always searched, I need help to do what's in my head. When I saw LeBron's skills, this is a funny story. This is the story of all stories. Is that because I had this idea, 25 years ago.
Right.
This is what I was thinking. And I said to him, I went to his office and I said, when I come to power, I said, you're going to be my right-hand man. He had no idea what I was thinking. So one day as we were going up to set, we had a contract for 20 grand a month. We traveled to Jersey.
I heard that whole story, yes.
And I asked him, I said, you my right-hand man? He's like, yeah. I said to him jokingly, that must mean I come to power. Right? So power is not violent, it's not loud, it's quiet, because power does not come from an individual. It comes from your ability to service the network. So what I've done, whether it's the Baltimore Met Gala, whether it's Afro-Pre, whether it's Jazzy Summer Nights, or any of the other things, the process is always the same. To discover the gifts of other human beings, to utilize my gift as an accelerator. I am rich in relationships, utilizing relationships that I have to build a strong foundation, let that strong foundation become an economic engine that everybody can grow, be great to serve in the face of what has happened to us as a people. So when we look at Afro-Pre, for 147 years.
Explain to those who don't know what Afro-Pre is.
There's a race in Baltimore, part of the Triple Crown, called the Preakness. And for 147 years, Black folks didn't really attend that event.
Outside of being the jockeys and the cleaners of the shit and everything else.
Selling peanuts, parking cars. Initially, they were the jockeys and they got ran out of that business. But they were a disregarded part of that race. And the sad part about that is that when that race happens,
which I was about to ask.
Is in Park Heights, where I grew up, all right? But Black folks had no participation. So when we got the opportunity, thanks to Alex Smith, all right, who put us in relationship with them. It was a white guy who people said was racist, who I don't believe is racist at all right? Who said, you guys should take a look at LeBron, Finney, and Derrick. So when we walked in there, they had us some things where they wanted to do. And we said, cool. But here's what we want to do. We're going to change the reality of your race. So we shifted Black people's respect, all right, how they perceive Black folks by creating a race and a partnership with the Stronach Group that was not only good for the brand, but also was good for the cash reality.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we talk, we want people to accept us. We don't need acceptance. All right? You don't have to accept me. I accept myself. Get out the way, make the space for us. All right? And that's all we need. And that's what they did. They made the space for us. We created Afro-Pre. And now this is the 4th year of Afro-Pre. And now that race that was considered, a part of the Triple, is a part of the Triple Crown, was attended by 90% Black folks, white folks, 95% Black folks. Now Black people have found a place in it in Afro-Pre. When we get to the Baltimore Met Gala, if I look at what you have on, E, All right, and I won't get it to you in particular. One of the heaviest investments that people make every day is in what they wear. All right, but we're not involved in that. So the Baltimore Met Gala is to take the designers and highlight the designers to a different, greater reality. All right, greater reality. Now we can make our own stuff. All right, we can present ourselves on a high level. So it's the talents of my friends who are organized that makes the Baltimore Met Gala. Whether it's Ritza with the PR, these are my friends, known them for 30 years. All right, whether it's LeBron Finney, who acts as the COO or whatever role however he defines it, multiple CMO, all the things roles that he played. All right, whether it's our chief art engineer, which is Ernest Shaw, who's one of the greatest artists in there. These are my friends. Whether it's Ainsley Barrows, who's from Brooklyn, these are my friends. These are all my friends. Right. Whether it's Earl Bannister, this is my friends. All right. Whether it's Jody, these people are my friends. But I think the uniqueness about my journey is, I'm a weaver. Right. So in order for there to be freedom, you have to be able to weave freedom. It's a cloth. Freedom is a cloth. You have to weave it, and it comes from us tying our abilities, our skills, our networks, our resources together that produces our freedom. But we've been taught to distrust one another for so long that we never will weave that blanket.
Gotcha.
So that's really what that is. It's really that's the freedom. Freedom is in the network.
I love it. I love it. So before we go, I want to say that in my relationship with you and watching you, we didn't get to you as a husband.
Yeah.
You as a father.
Yeah.
Which I know are your biggest roles in life. I know how you feel about raising your children in a way that they are leaders, not followers.
Right.
That they respect themselves and respect others. And that you and your wife work together to create this environment for your children to have the best life possible.
Right.
And I applaud you for that. But I'm looking at this art gallery, and this sticks to me. I'm looking at two paintings.
Right.
People who see you and don't know you will see threat. Threat is that picture behind you with the brother with the gun in his head and the gun pointing at somebody. If they don't know you, because you carry yourself in a way that commands respect.
Yes, sir.
And some people who see respect also see fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens in our society a lot when it comes to black men and especially young black brothers. Right. I don't think that they understand that the threat, I'm not as much the threat to you as I am to myself.
Right.
Myself meaning I have to try to figure out how to survive.
Right.
And you seem to have mastered survival.
Yes, sir.
And then I look at the man with the weight on his shoulders.
Right.
That's you. People don't know who you are around this city and the lives that you touch and the people you touch.
Right.
And me knowing that, I see the strength that you have. I see the way you carry your community. I see the way you carry your family and you carry your friends.
Cry. This is the part where
just
to open.
Not at all. Not at all. But that's what I see. And it didn't hit me until I'm looking and we're talking. I happen to glance over. I'm like, people don't understand. Threat is a threat to himself more than you because he's trying to figure out how to survive.
Yeah.
And for you, you're trying to figure out how to survive, but also how to help all of us survive and be the best version of ourselves. And we'll do anything to help us survive.
Yes, sir.
Which causes a weight on your shoulders.
Right.
And people don't see you weak. Right. People never see, your wife might see it, your kids might see it.
Right.
But in general, people don't see the tears, the pain, whatever you're dealing with.
Right.
Nobody sees that because it's not for everybody. It's for who you trust with your love in your heart.
Right.
So I want to thank you. I just had to share that.
I want to share something because you said something about that painting, and I think that speaks to a greater reality, right? If you look at the earth, all right? So the earth is actually held in position by a law, all right? That law is gravity, all right? So it's the gravitational pull that keeps the earth balanced, all right? It keeps the earth in rotation between the gravitational pull between the moon and the earth, a lesser object, and the gravitational pull between the earth and the sun keeps it in orbit. All right. And it turns, all right, because things in space, they turn And the turning is the evolution. If you ever watch a pot of clay and how they make clay, that's the perfection, right? So the truth of the matter is the journey is not heavy at all because I just depend on the laws. I don't have to carry them. The laws carry them. Only thing I got to do is play my role, understand my role in the context of the laws, right? So the pain is the process. Most people want a painless process. Me, it's kind of like they should go Oklahoma, right? For Oklahoma, for those who don't know, is in football, two men lie on their
You don't
back.
even play football. How you know about Oklahoma?
I played football.
Okay.
And they stand up. They go at each other,
Right.
right? And somebody has to fall. But what that drill is for is so you get used to what the process of conflict builds. All right? So if you get used to just crashing into something, at some point, one object is going to break or get stronger. One object is going to move out of the way or it's going to become more resolved. All right? One object is going to develop and cultivate a better process or it's going to fade away, right? It's the process that we should study and fall in love to. Whatever that process brings, whether it brings tears or joy, who cares? Be in tune with the process. So for me, my secret in life is I'm not shooting for the end result. I'm never shooting for the end result. End result is going to be the end result.
It's going to be the end result.
If I do
but it's the process.
Right,
Right.
So you my guy, man.
Might as
Love
well.
what you do, baby.
Sir, it's you, my friend.
Cheers, sir. I should drink more of this.
As we finish up today's Phoenix Perspective,
Sure.
I just want to say that I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope that you got something from this. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. Brother Derrick is always available to talk, enlighten, and support. If you're doing anything that's going to support your city, because it's not just about Baltimore. Like today's times, yes, we're here. We got to focus on where we're at. But the state of America today, as people of color, as people in need, as people who share life and share space, we've got to start to figure out how we can come together and not be torn apart and rise and rise and rise like the Phoenix. So that's my perspective. I appreciate everything. Thank you for watching. Look forward to talking to you later. To you.
Yes, sir.